Ilara had always believed she knew fear. As the youngest member of the Varen High Council, she had faced trials, ceremonies, and dangerous negotiations that tested both mind and body. Yet nothing had prepared her for the news she had received that morning. She was to be paired with a human. Not just any human, but a soldier, handpicked by the Interstellar Alliance to accompany her on missions of great importance. Her hands shook as she read the official order again. Humans were unpredictable. They were emotional, reckless, and in the eyes of her people, dangerously fragile. Stories of human failures had spread across Vera for centuries, each tale adding weight to her growing dread. The idea of being paired with one filled her with a sense of looming disaster. Ilara paced her quarters, her long, pale fingers tracing the etched patterns on the walls. The council's words echoed in her mind. This pairing is essential. Learn to work together. Humanity's adaptability is necessary. She scoffed silently. Adaptable? From what she had seen, humans survived mostly through luck and stubbornness, not skill or discipline. And now she had to trust one with her life. When she arrived at the training hall, her stomach churned. The soldier was already there, standing among the waiting recruits. His posture was calm, almost casual, which made her nerves tighten. He wore the standard armor, scratched and battered, and his dark hair fell slightly into his eyes. Unlike the Varens, he looked ordinary. Too ordinary. Ilara's first instinct was to turn away. She had imagined heroes of legend, towering warriors, humans with strength that matched their arrogance. Instead, this man, Kale, looked like he could get lost in a crowd on any ordinary planet. His gaze met hers, and he offered a small, polite nod. "Greetings," he said, his voice steady, not loud but confident. "I'm Kale. I've read your file." Ilara raised an eyebrow. "I'm sure you have," she replied coldly. She wanted to pull back, to remind herself of the distance she had always maintained from humans. Her pride demanded it. Her fear urged it, but Kale didn't retreat. Instead, he smiled faintly, almost kindly. "I know humans seem different, but I'm ready to do this properly. I hope we can work together." Ilara blinked. His words were simple, unassuming, yet there was a quiet strength in them that she had not expected. She forced herself to look away, to focus on the mission briefing displayed on the holographic screen. Rules, coordinates, strategy, everything was neat and precise. Nothing in the human's demeanor fit the danger and complexity of the assignment. And yet, the smallest seed of curiosity planted itself in her mind. That night, alone in her quarters, Ilara stared at the stars. Thousands of worlds, millions of lives, all spinning in the vast emptiness of space. She whispered to herself, "I can handle this. I must handle this." But the truth was different. Deep down, she was terrified. She had no idea how to face a human as an equal, let alone one she had to trust with her life. The image of Kale lingered in her mind, the calm way he stood, the quiet strength in his eyes, the faint smile that seemed to suggest he believed in things she had long stopped believing in. A part of her hated that she felt a flicker of something like hope. Tomorrow, she reminded herself, she would see if the human was competent. Tomorrow, she would judge whether he was a burden or a partner. But tonight, staring into the void of the cosmos, she admitted something she could not say aloud. Maybe, just maybe, he could be more than she had feared. Her pulse slowed, though unease remained. She did not know how much of herself she could risk, how much trust she could give. She only knew that the mission and the human soldier would change everything. And with that thought, she closed her eyes, letting sleep take her, unaware that this pairing would test not only her skill and courage but the very heart she had kept shielded from the universe. The next morning, Ilara met Kale at the docking bay. The convoy was ready, ships gleaming under the harsh light of the space station. Her heart beat faster than usual, not from excitement, but from anxiety. She kept her distance as Kale inspected the equipment, his hands moving confidently over panels, checking weapons, scanning systems. He seemed ordinary, yet capable in a way that unsettled her. "Everything looks fine," Kale said, looking over his shoulder at her. "We're ready to go." Alara nodded stiffly. "We will follow the mission plan, exactly. No improvisation." Kale's lips curved into a faint smile. "Understood. But if something unexpected happens, we adapt." She felt a twinge of annoyance. Adapt? That was exactly what she feared. Humans could not always control chaos. They reacted to it, often recklessly. She turned her gaze to the stars outside the docking bay window, trying to steady her thoughts. The convoy launched into the Vartus Nebula, a region known for violent plasma storms and rogue pirates. Sensors flickered as the first storm cells appeared, throwing the ships into a dangerous dance among debris and charged energy. The warning alarms screamed, and Alara's heart clenched. Kale moved swiftly, his hands on the controls, his mind focused and precise. "Stay close," he ordered calmly. "Follow my lead." Alara hesitated for only a moment before trusting him. To her surprise, he guided the ship through the storm with an ease she had never expected. Meteors grazed the hull, shields flickered, and lights sparking overhead threatened chaos, but Kale's calm presence steadied her. During the first encounter with space raiders, the Varan convoy came under attack. Lasers cut through the void, hitting shields and armor. The scientists on board froze in fear, unsure where to go. Alara felt panic rise in her chest, but Kale's voice cut through it. "Move to cover. Protect the convoy," he shouted. Alara followed his command, directing the others while keeping herself shielded. Kale moved among them like a force of nature, blocking stray blasts, guiding the frightened crew, and repairing failing systems mid-battle. He was fast, fearless, and focused. When a plasma burst hit the corridor she was in, Alara was thrown against the wall. Pain shot through her side, and she gasped, struggling to rise. Before she could move again, strong arms caught her. Kale's face was calm, steadying her. "You can't do this alone," he said, his voice firm but gentle. For a moment, she felt something shift inside her. Fear had always been her shield, keeping her distant and guarded. But in this instant, she realized that trusting someone did not mean weakness. Kale's strength was not just in his arms or skills, it was in his heart. His courage, his unwavering support. By the time the attack ended, the convoy was damaged but intact. Alara felt a strange mix of relief and awe as she looked at Kale. His armor was scratched, his uniform marked with soot, yet he was smiling faintly, brushing dust from his sleeve. "Humans," she muttered under her breath, almost scornfully, but there was no malice in it, only disbelief. Kale glanced at her. "What was that?" Alara shook her head, feeling a small smile tug at her lips. "Nothing. Just unexpected." Throughout the remainder of the journey, she noticed more small things. The way Kale never gave up, even when systems failed. The way he encouraged frightened crew members with simple words, never raising his voice unnecessarily. The way he adapted to every new challenge without hesitation. By the time they reached the safe zone beyond the nebula, Alara felt something she had not anticipated: respect. She still kept her guard up, but a seed of curiosity had grown. Perhaps humans were not as fragile as her people claimed. Perhaps, in this one human soldier, she might even find a partner she could trust. For the first time since the assignment, she dared to think, just a little, that fear might not control her anymore. After surviving the Vartus Nebula, Alara thought her fear of humans might begin to fade. Yet, a part of her still recoiled. She kept her distance from Kale, maintaining strict formality in every interaction. Trust did not come easily, especially not with someone she had been taught to doubt for her entire life. Kale noticed her restraint, but never pressed too hard. He followed the protocols, assisting her only when needed. Yet he had a way of quietly stepping into moments where she faltered. Ilara caught herself observing him more often than she wanted. The way he moved, the way he stayed calm under pressure, the way he seemed to instinctively understand what to do next, it unsettled her. He was human, yes, but he was also extraordinary. One evening, while reviewing convoy data in the observation deck, Kale approached her. "Ilara," he said softly, "you've been distant. Why?" Ilara stiffened, her eyes never leaving the holographic charts. "This is not about distance," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "It is about focus. I cannot afford distractions." Kale leaned against the railing, not pressing, just waiting. "You don't have to face everything alone. We're partners, aren't we?" Her chest tightened. The word partner sounded foreign in her mind. She had been trained to see humans as tools, liabilities at best. To call one a partner felt like betraying all she had learned. And yet, Kale's calm sincerity made her pause. His patience, his quiet insistence, was a different kind of strength, one she hadn't anticipated. I work best alone," she muttered, more to herself than to him. "You don't have to," Kale replied simply. "It's okay to rely on someone. That doesn't make you weak." Ilara felt a strange warmth, a tug at her defenses she had worked so hard to build. She wanted to argue, to retreat into her certainty, but a small voice inside whispered otherwise. Could she really handle everything alone? Could she really survive the dangers of the galaxy without learning to trust another? The next day, a routine systems check became a test of endurance. A minor malfunction in the convoy's engines created panic among the crew. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the automated systems struggled to compensate. Ilara tried to manage it alone, but the chaos overwhelmed her. Kale appeared beside her, calm and steady. Without waiting for permission, he took control of one console while guiding her hands on another. Together, they worked in perfect unison. Ilara felt a strange exhilaration, something she had never allowed herself before. The human beside her wasn't a burden. He was a complement, a partner, and a protector all in one. When the crisis passed, Ilara leaned back, her chest heaving. She looked at Kale, who simply smiled, as if it had been the easiest thing in the universe. "You see," he said quietly, "you didn't have to face it alone." For the first time, Ilara felt the walls around her heart crack, just slightly. She did not fully trust him yet, but she was beginning to see him not as a human to fear, but as someone who could stand beside her. She realized something uncomfortable. She wanted him there. Lying in her quarters, Ilara stared at the stars again. She replayed the events of the day, the crisis, Kale's calm presence, the way he had steadied her when she faltered. Her mind felt strangely lighter, yet her heart beat faster with an unfamiliar sensation. Fear had been her companion for so long. But now, curiosity and admiration were creeping in, nudging her toward something new. She didn't understand it fully, but she sensed that Kale would change more than just her perspective on humans. He might change her entirely, and in the quiet of the observation deck, the hum of the ship around her, Ilara admitted to herself that perhaps, just perhaps, this human soldier could be more than she had feared. The Vartus Nebula had been dangerous before, but nothing could have prepared Ilara for the storm that erupted that day. A massive plasma surge ripped through space, shaking the convoy violently. Alarms screamed, lights flickered, and debris slammed against the hull of the lead ship. The crew panicked, running in all directions, some frozen by fear. Ilara's heart raced, her chest tight as she struggled to maintain control. Kale's voice cut through the chaos. "Stay with me. Move now." He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the command center, moving with a precision and confidence that defied the storm around them. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and the floor shook beneath their feet, but Kale remained steady. He shielded her from flying debris and guided frightened scientists toward safe zones. Alara could hardly believe the calm determination in him. A sudden jolt sent her tumbling against the wall. Pain shot through her shoulder, and she gasped, momentarily overwhelmed. Cale was there instantly, catching her before she fell further. His hands were strong, sure, and unyielding. "You can't face this alone," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Alara swallowed hard, her pride warring with the truth in his words. She had always been trained to rely on herself, to keep fear at bay. But here, with the storm threatening everything, she understood that trust was not a weakness, it was a necessity. Together, they reached the control room, where the navigation systems were failing. Plasma arcs danced across the consoles, and alarms shrieked endlessly. Alara took a deep breath and started issuing orders, but Cale worked alongside her, fixing circuits, rerouting power, and stabilizing the shields. Every movement he made was precise, deliberate, and selfless. He saved crew members from falling debris, offered calm words to terrified scientists, and kept his own fear hidden. At one point, a plasma burst hit near Alara, and she felt a hot wave of energy pass by. Instinctively, Cale pushed her out of harm's way, taking a small burn across his arm. He didn't cry out, didn't complain, he simply nodded at her and continued. Alara's throat tightened. This human, whom she had feared and doubted, was willing to risk himself without hesitation. By the time the storm subsided, the convoy was battered but intact. Crew members murmured in awe about the human soldier who had guided them through the chaos. Alara stood beside Cale, her armor scorched, her body tired, and her mind racing. She felt a strange mixture of relief, admiration, and something deeper she couldn't yet name. "You," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "You were incredible out there." Cale shook his head, brushing soot from his uniform. "We made it through because we worked together. That's all." Alara's eyes softened. She realized that fear had dominated her life for too long. She had doubted humans, doubted Cale, doubted herself, but now she saw clearly. Courage was not about perfection or control. Courage was about standing firm when everything threatened to fall apart, and about trusting others to stand with you. For the first time, Alara felt the walls around her heart begin to crack. Cale was not just a human. He was a force she could rely on, a presence she could count on, and perhaps someone who could teach her what it meant to truly trust. As the convoy limped toward a safer sector of space, Alara glanced at him. He caught her gaze and gave her a small, reassuring smile. It was a simple gesture, but it carried more weight than any words could. In that moment, she knew one thing: the human beside her had changed the rules. She could no longer see humans the way she had before. And more importantly, she could no longer see herself the same way. The storm was over. But something far more powerful had begun. A bond forged in fire. Trust earned in chaos, and a promise that together they could face anything the universe threw at them. After the plasma storm, the convoy reached a calm sector of space. The danger had passed, but the tension in the air remained. Crew members quietly tended to damaged ships, and alarms were replaced by the soft hum of engines. Alara walked through the corridors, her mind replaying the events of the crisis. Every moment with Cale had left a mark on her, a feeling she could not shake. She found him in the ship's medical bay, checking on a minor injury he had received during the storm. His arm was burned, but he waved off the concern of the medics with a simple, "I'll be fine." Focus on the convoy. Alara felt a pang of something she could not name: admiration, perhaps, but also a deep respect. Here was a human who had risked himself without hesitation, who had acted with courage not for glory, but because it was the right thing to do. The stories she had grown up believing, the humans as fragile, reckless, unpredictable, felt foolish in the light of what she had witnessed. "You were amazing," she said softly, standing at the entrance. Her voice was quieter than she intended, but it carried a sincerity that surprised even her. Cale looked up and smiled faintly, brushing soot from his hair. "We made it through together," he said, his voice steady. "You did your part too. We both kept everyone safe." Illyra's chest tightened. She realized she had been underestimating humans, underestimating him, and perhaps underestimating herself. Trust was not weakness, it was strength. And Cale had shown her what strength could look like in its purest form: fearless, selfless, and unwavering. For the first time, she allowed herself to linger near him, observing the way his eyes scanned the room, calm and alert, yet gentle. She thought about the moments during the storm, when he had shielded her, guided her, and silently reassured her without a single word. Every gesture had spoken volumes. "You." She began again, uncertain how to put her thoughts into words. I never imagined a human could be like this." Cale tilted his head slightly, a small, amused smile tugging at his lips. "And I never imagined I'd meet someone like you, someone who thinks they have to face everything alone." Illyra's gaze dropped. She did not know whether to feel embarrassed or grateful. His words had pierced her armor, the careful walls she had built around herself. She had feared pairing with a human, and yet here she was, standing beside one who had taught her something profound. Fear could be conquered, and strength could be found in unity. "I always thought—" She started, voice trembling. "Humans were too fragile, too emotional. But you've shown me something else. You've shown me courage." Cale's smile softened. "Courage isn't about not feeling fear," he said. "It's about acting even when fear is there. You did that too." Illyra felt a strange warmth bloom in her chest. She realized she was beginning to see the universe differently, not just the humans, but the people she trusted, the choices she made, and the possibilities that lay ahead. She had feared being paired with Cale, feared what it would mean, feared what it could change within her. But now she felt gratitude. Deep, overwhelming gratitude for the human who had risked everything and changed her perspective forever. The corridors were quiet around them, the hum of the engines the only sound. Illyra found herself stepping closer to him, drawn by an unspoken connection she could no longer deny. She realized that she wanted to learn more from him, not just about surviving missions, but about life, courage, and trust. In that quiet moment, Illyra admitted to herself something extraordinary. The human soldier she had feared was no longer a threat to her. He was a revelation, a mirror reflecting the strength she had overlooked in herself, and a reminder that even in the darkest places, hope could be found in the most unexpected companions. For the first time, Illyra felt a spark of something new. Fear had given way to admiration. Doubt had given way to trust. And slowly, quietly, she felt her heart opening to the possibility that Cale was not just a partner in duty, but someone who could change her world entirely. The convoy had reached a safe sector, and the tension of the storm began to fade. Yet for Illyra, the memory of the crisis lingered. She found herself thinking about Cale constantly, the way he had moved through chaos with calm certainty, the way he had steadied her when fear threatened to overwhelm her, the way his presence had become something she could rely on without even realizing it. She watched him quietly as he checked systems on one of the smaller ships. His focus was absolute, but there was an ease in the way he worked, a sense that he belonged in the storm without being consumed by it. For the first time, Illyra felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years, a sense of comfort in the presence of another. Cale noticed her gaze and offered a small smile. "You're watching again," he said lightly, but there was warmth in his voice. Illyra's cheeks flushed. "I'm making sure everything is running properly," she said, hoping to sound professional. He laughed softly, the sound gentle and calm. "I think the convoy is safe because of both of us, not just one." The simplicity of his words struck her. Humans spoke so plainly, Yet their words carried meaning she had rarely encountered in the careful diplomacy of her own people. Ilara realized that she had underestimated not just humans, but the way connection could strengthen her own abilities. That evening, Kale invited her to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, brilliant and vast. The nebula glowed faintly in the distance, a reminder of the storm they had survived. Kale handed her a small artifact from his home planet, a smooth, polished stone engraved with simple symbols. "It's to remind me," he said quietly, "that even in the darkest places there's light." Ilara held the stone carefully, her fingers brushing against his for a brief moment. She felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the artifact. I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "You don't have to say anything," Kale replied. "Just remember." The stars reflected in her eyes as she considered his words. Trust, courage, hope. These were qualities she had always believed humans lacked, but Kale had shown her otherwise. He had taught her that strength could come from companionship, that fear could be faced together, and that the heart could find courage even in unexpected places. For the first time, Ilara allowed herself to speak openly. "I never imagined I could feel this. Connected to a human. But with you, I do. I feel safe." Kale turned to face her fully, his eyes calm and unwavering. "Good," he said simply. "Because I feel the same." Her heart skipped. These were words she had not expected to hear, not from a human, not from anyone. And yet, they felt right. She realized that fear no longer ruled her thoughts about him. The wall she had built around herself was crumbling, replaced by something deeper: trust, admiration, and an emotion that reached beyond words. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. The quiet hum of the ship was comforting, a gentle reminder that the universe could be navigated safely with the right companion. Ilara realized that Kale was no longer just her partner in duty. He was a presence she could rely on, someone who had shown her that fear could be transformed into courage, and that strength could be shared. As the night deepened, she allowed herself to hope. Hope that the bond they were forming could grow stronger, that trust could blossom into something enduring, and that the human she had once feared could become someone who would forever change her life. For the first time, Ilara smiled without reservation. The storm had tested them, the nebula had challenged them, and yet here they were standing together, stronger because of one another. The journey ahead might still be dangerous, but she knew one thing with certainty: she was no longer afraid. Kale reached for her hand, and this time she did not hesitate. The convoy finally reached the safety of the outer sector. Stars stretched endlessly ahead, peaceful after the storm, and the hum of the ships created a rhythm that seemed to soothe the crew. Ilara walked through the corridors, her steps lighter than they had been for weeks. The fear she had felt at the beginning of this mission, fear of humans, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, had all but disappeared. Kale met her at the observation deck, his calm presence as steady as ever. He didn't need to speak. Ilara felt the bond between them, unspoken but undeniable. For weeks they had faced danger together, navigated chaos, and saved lives. He had shown her courage, resilience, and awaited trust beyond fear. And she had come to realize that this human soldier had changed everything, not just for her, but for the way she saw the universe. The High Council had summoned them for recognition. Ilara's heart pounded as she stood before them, Kale by her side. The council members, all tall and imposing figures of Viren authority, looked at her curiously. The stories of human weakness had not prepared them for what she was about to say. "I feared being paired with a human," Ilara began, her voice strong and steady. "I believed humans were reckless, fragile, and unworthy of trust. But I was wrong. This human, this soldier, has shown me courage beyond what I imagined. He has faced danger without hesitation, protected the lives of our people, and taught me the meaning of true partnership. The council murmured, stunned by her honesty. Ilara continued, her gaze unwavering. Fear blinded me. It made me doubt not only humans but myself. But this human stood beside me through chaos and uncertainty. And because of him, I have learned that strength is not measured by solitude, but by the bonds we forge and the trust we share. Kale bowed slightly, a quiet respect in his eyes. He said nothing, but his presence spoke louder than words. He had proven that humans could be fearless, resilient, and honorable. And more than that, he had shown Ilara that courage could be found in the unlikeliest of companions. Ilara turned to him, her chest tight with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing me what courage really is, for teaching me to trust, for changing everything." Kale smiled softly, his hand brushing briefly against hers. "And thank you," he replied, "for seeing it, for trusting me, for letting me stand beside you." The council's silence was broken by soft applause. One by one, they nodded, acknowledging not only the human's bravery, but also the bond that had formed between the two of them. Ilara felt a surge of pride, not just in her own words, but in the partnership she had discovered, the trust she had found, and the human who had earned it. As the applause faded, Ilara and Kale stepped toward the observation deck together. The stars stretched endlessly before them, vast and full of possibility. For the first time, Ilara felt the universe as it truly was, not a place of fear and doubt, but of hope, courage, and connection. She squeezed Kale's hand gently. "We survived the storm," she said softly, "but more than that, we've discovered something stronger than fear." Kale's eyes met hers, steady and unwavering. "Stronger than fear," he echoed. Together they looked out at the endless stars, ready to face whatever the galaxy might bring. Fear had once ruled Ilara's heart, but it no longer had power. In its place, there was trust, admiration, and a bond that could withstand any challenge. The human beside her had changed everything, and she knew the future held limitless possibilities. Side by side, they would meet it all. And for the first time in her life, Ilara smiled without hesitation, filled with certainty, courage, and the knowledge that together they were unstoppable.